Hey everyone, it's LS, and this is the RNG versus KingZone MSI Finals. I'm joined today by Fnatic's top laner, Bwipo, and we're just going to be jumping right into game number one. We're not going to do the draft phase, but we will talk about the team compositions and what both teams are trying to achieve and what it means for the colors and whatnot, so let's just get right into it. Alright, so KingZone has Fiora, Sedge, Aurelia. This is game number one, too, so it was interesting for me that RNG actually just allowed the Aurelia through. But I guess if you can beat it in game one, then you show that you don't have to ban it later on, and it can obviously potentially mess with KingZone. And then Caitlyn and Braum. And RNG have Janna, Ezreal, Sion, Skarner, and Ornn. So, I mean, their composition is pretty engage heavy. The entire focus is centered around Uzi, which is pretty obvious as well. And then Ornn up in top lane, I mean, I'm sure you're going to comment on this more. It feels like the win condition for KingZone is primarily just playing around Khan, letting him do what he wants to do, and then having Aurelia get big enough to threaten anything if anyone would try to get onto Prey, and then Prey can just stall and stagnate fights. But really, I feel like this entire team comp is centered around Fiora, whereas this entire team composition is centered around Ezreal.
Right. I think 1-3-1 is definitely a big deal here, because I think both matchups eventually just get outscaled, like for RNG. So like, I think they'll actually get start dying on both side lanes if KingZone get ahead early.
Yep. And
so I think that's what they're going to play towards.
I think if you're Peanut, all that you really have to do is prevent anything from going wrong up in top lane, and then if Khan naturally gets ahead and you're able to stall or have bottom lane just go completely even, and you can have a longer laning phase, then it's good for Khan. First dragon of the game, I don't know what it is, but obviously Mountain Drakes and Infernal Drakes are super big for KingZone, more so than they are for RNG. RNG probably wouldn't mind an Ocean Drake if it's really early, but other than that, I mean, Cloud Drakes are on the table for them as well. Infernal Drakes, obviously. Mountain Drakes, I think, less so than anything else, just because they don't have any split pushing available inside of their team comp. But if KingZone doesn't get ahead, the team composition that they have is very, very problematic outside of their split push. They don't have the tools to go even in a mid-game team fight if they're on even footing, and then Khan wouldn't be ahead enough to threaten anything via the split push. So then Drake RNG and Barons can obviously come into play quite heavily. So if Peanut does absolutely fuck all this game, in the early into mid transition, I just don't see anything going very good for KingZone. And honestly, I think this tournament, Peanut gets the Dade award. Well, Peanut's gotten the Dade award for a while now, so I don't expect fantastic things, but Khan is, I think, the entire point of this, so that's what I'm going to be looking for in the VOD anyway.
Yeah, seems pretty obvious. I think one thing to note is that it's pretty important that Ezreal doesn't get ahead of Caitlyn, because I think that with Braum, RNG can actually initiate on Caitlyn. So if Caitlyn gets strong enough to be able to handle Ezreal plus Janna, I actually think that like RNG can't play the game. Like they can't even contest mid if that's the case, because they can engage on Caitlyn with Braum, countering the Ornn.
Yep. Okay.
So I'd say draft is in KingZone's favor.
Yeah, I think that the draft is in KingZone's favor with how the game should play out. But if they drop the ball early and transition poorly into mid, then I think RNG has a pretty easy time sealing away the deal. Yep.
Skarner's pretty scary too, I think. Skarner can do a lot of nasty things in the early game against Sejuani. I think that matchup is rather difficult for Sejuani to navigate. Koreans really like it, but we've always thought it was a really rough matchup because of how aggressive Skarner can play.
Yep.
Also makes it difficult for Aurelia and Fiora to breathe, so I'd like to see Karsa being really proactive in the early game.
When you're thinking of opening jungler routes, I mean, Karsa can't do anything in bottom. All of his focus should be around top and mid. Right. So I would expect a really big battle on the left-hand side of the map.
Well, he opts into starting blue, so he is working towards bot side.
Yep. This lets him come back up to top lane around level 4 and 5.
Yep.
So that's right around the time where either Khan wants to recall, or Peanut could be showing top lane after finishing golems, or Peanut's just coming off of a... Or not Peanut, but Khan's coming off a teleport, so... Lots of value potentially there. Let Me's doing really good. Level 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think Khan messed up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's messing up a little on the trades.
Peanut. He's doing a full clear, which I don't mind this. If you know that you're just going to full clear into recall and pathing top, I think it's okay. Because it's virtually impossible that you're going to get a gank off in mid lane, and then bottom lane, you're not going to see a gank. Not approaching Ezreal and Janna from this angle this early on. You need Braum to be level 6, you need level 6. So I like the full clear. I also like the fact that Karsa matched it as well. Because again, unlikely that he can do anything super early bottom, and then he's not going to be able to coordinate anything early on with Xiaohu to do anything to BDD. So
right.
this is where I think the game starts, though. Right around now,
Yeah,
level 4 or
clear.
5. Yep. And
Here's where the solo lane start TPing back as well, so I think here's where some action's going to happen. Bot lane's pushed pretty far. I actually think if Peanut commit to that bot lane gank, he might have gotten it, because Karsa hadn't rotated down for wards yet. If you just run straight through river, I actually think it was possible to punish bot.
Yeah, he could have gotten something. And now, when this happens, when everything just resets completely, I think this is really, really ugly for KingZone. Until everyone gets level 6. Like, once Peanut has level 6, and Gorilla has level 6, and Aurelia, etc., I think there's another opening. But I think it's really on RNG to drop the ball here. If they just have defensive control wards on their half of the map and on their side of the river, I think it gets really difficult for KingZone to coordinate stuff, and I think lanes go even. And in that scenario, it's really rough, because Prey doesn't come out of laning phase with an advantage, and Khan doesn't come out, and the mid game is just very, very brutal for them to get through.
Seems weird to me that both junglers have been hovering around bot side river most of the game. I think Peanut took the Scuttle Crab once on top side, like 4 minutes, and then just decided to be around bot side river, and same goes for Karsa. He walked in top side river once, and then just passed towards bot. Makes more sense for Karsa, obviously, but I do feel like Peanut should be... I don't think he should be mid, yeah.
Taking a lot of turret damage in bottom. I think Peanut's rooting this game, and I think the synergy with mid and top laners hasn't been there. So I don't know. It feels like RNG is just getting really far ahead, and it doesn't feel like KingZone was playing towards what their strengths should be for the early part. And RNG is just getting away with leads. It's also pretty important to note that they're winning in all the lanes. Like, that CS lead in top shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a thing. That was straight up 1v1 as well.
Yeah. And it's not even like nearby jungler pressure played a role in this.
Yeah,
This
Karsa
is
literally just bot side river the entire game. Khan spotted him several times as well, I think. So try and contest blue after giving it up, but I don't think that's a good idea given the champions we're dealing with.
Peanut
just kind of gets punished.
Just rewind really quick.
I feel like he didn't have priority on his lanes. Yeah, lanes are in the middle. Yeah. Right now, Khan just freezing the wave. I don't think this is a good call.
I mean, it's even more weird when you factor in... So you just saw Karsa, you see him full HP, you see him full mana, and maybe your thought process is that he's going to recall first and then go to his blue. Even if that's the case, right? If you factor in the speed that it would take a Skarner to run behind his red buff, and then channel recall, and then get to blue, Sejuani wouldn't get it in time. Karsa would arrive. So I don't know what Peanut's thought process is. I feel like this has been the story of him... well, the story of KingZone, for that matter, you know, like early game, there's a lack of synergy, there's just, a lot of problems that are going on, and I don't really know what he was trying to accomplish.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense to invade here. Like, I get that he has the pin, but I feel like with mid lane wave getting pushed in as well, like top lane freezing makes kind of sense from top lane's perspective. Khan thinks he can just walk past the wave and stop Ornn from moving, but Zan literally shoved in the wave, so I feel like that was just giving a freebie over. And the problem is right now, that was your opportunity to contest topside with your strong members, right?
Yes.
Because right now, on the reset, like, they're just going to go bot lane. And, well, that's your turret gone, I think.
So bottom's going to get the turret, which means that Caitlyn is exiting laning phase with a disadvantage. This is really nice by BDD. the solo kill. And I have to attribute this as likely just due to inexperience in the matchup. Like Xiaohu not identifying
Yeah,
or
100%.
realizing.
Like, yeah, 100%. He should flash ult every time
Yeah.
here.
Really, really, really big.
That's a
So,
really big deal, but I don't think it's going to matter in the long run. Like, it helps a lot, but I don't think it's going to give him pressure in the mid lane matchup, given that Skarner just got really far ahead of Sejuani off of Sejuani dropping that kill. Like, I think he's like a level or 2 levels up almost.
so here, well, I mean, here's the thing for me is Xiaohu just died, right? And Peanut's coming off Fountain, and Gorilla is teleporting down back into bottom lane, and Khan is able to just shove this wave in. I don't know exactly what his timer is on teleport. I don't understand why they wouldn't just dragon play. Because you know that Uzi doesn't have teleport. You know that Prey can just choose not to use any mana, even though he's not going to have the, the strongest combat stats. Uzi's not going to want to stay too much longer. So if you kill the Scion, you just have a path to the right. You have Peanut come down. Khan shoves in the wave. Khan backs up, recalls. Khan runs down here if you think that they're going to somehow contest it or something.
Yeah.
And then he can just move back up to top lane. Or you can just have Khan stay bottom lane, and then you rotate your bottom lane back up to top, and then you have a priority and a tempo lead, at least over Uzi and Ming. I don't know why Peanut goes to Wraiths. I don't know why they do nothing off BDD's kill, and I don't understand why you're going to call in the teleport on Braum like this if you're not intending to do something with it. I think this is a complete dropped opportunity to get the Infernal Drake, which their team composition would absolutely love an Infernal Drake. And even if the argument... Well, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think they have scaling on great scaling on all 3 champions, but I think maybe Peanut feels like he can't do it because he's really far behind. He feels like he needs to catch up. I think at this point he just needs to force something.
Mm-hmm.
I think he actually has to go for the Infernal Drake, get something for his team going, because from that point on, that jungle matchup, I don't think he's going to be able to do anything as long as Skarner's around. I think he loses like every 2v2 because he's just so much weaker than Skarner.
I don't like how they're not doing anything. BDD gets completely caught out here. This is really weird. I guess he's just not respecting the Skarner approach. Also, Karn, I mean, that's a pretty late missing ping, but I know that they're on comms, but even still. Why is BDD here? BDD is going to lose 1 minion at most. Why is he so far forward? You know that the top laner's missing. You don't have any sort of control over the river, so you have no idea what's coming from the Fog of War. Why is BDD not just further back? Doesn't make sense to me.
That doesn't make sense at all. Did they actually get this kill? It's probably going to be a bad fight. Huh, it actually turns out fine.
Turns out okay.
Yeah, it's fine. You get Skarner flash ult for nothing. You kind of walked off. That's pretty good. Oh, can't TP'd back top. I actually don't like that.
I don't think it was necessary.
I don't think so either. I think I mean...
Never mind, we can't see it. Replay. Unfortunate.
Oh, yeah, well, he was going to lose, like... It was kind of a big wave, I suppose. Not sure. I feel like he messed up his wave earlier then, in that case, considering what situation he was in.
Carson's ahead on levels. And he's about to be level 9. I don't know how close Peanut is.
I think Peanut just hit 7.
That's really
like 7.5.
bad.
7.5 or 8, like barely. I think if he gets Gromp, he might hit 8, but he's quite far behind right now.
Yeah, it's not highlighting him. Peanut just can't seem to find anything. He's coming in here.
Mid, but I just don't feel like it's the place to do anything. I feel like the sound's too sturdy, especially with the ult and flash up. Like, I don't think they can do anything. Makes sense that he wants to play for the Inferno, but like they're not willing to start it because Khan used his TP, so let me has TP advantage. Makes it really difficult for KingZone to do anything other than just play around top, but we're not even trying to force ganks, and Ornn is playing quite far up the lane. Like, I feel like he's really far up, and right now they're just trying to not lose their bot lane turret, if that makes sense. At least that's what Peanut's pathing implies, considering how much he was in bot side river, just trying to make sure that his bot lane wouldn't lose the tail one.
Yeah, they were playing really, really defensive. And I mean, while it's not entirely bad, due to the team compositions, though, it is bad, because we know what happens if they're on even footing in mid-game.
Kind of surprised Xiaohu went topside there to ward. I feel like clearing the pings bot side would have been much more valuable given what RNG is trying to do right now. Like, he's hovering topside this entire time, and I really don't know why when Karsa's sitting in the bush. So he finally moves in bot side river. Doesn't clear a pink. Oh, it's fine. They're gonna get this start eventually anyway. I feel like Skyrim can actually just start the Infernal Drake as soon as Sion gets mid-prow and just get it for free. I think with Ornn having TP advantage, like right there was a good opportunity for RNG to actually just start the dragon. KingZone wouldn't have been able to contest it, and straight after dragon, he would just take bot 2-1 as well. No matter.
Peanut's staying here. Uzi has teleport, so yeah. Not really gonna get a lot of pressure relief. Khan's not achieving too much up in top lane.
I don't think it's very. I actually don't think it's possible in this matchup this early. Like, I'll admit, like in this matchup, I think you really need two and a bit items before you can actually start doing stuff. I feel like his early, like the reason why he doesn't have a CS lead is because of his bad early trading. But
yes,
other than that, I think past level 7, we actually play the matchup quite well to recover.
that was a really good trade.
Yeah, so he's starting to get shit done, but I feel like it's too late. I think they missed the clock. Ezreal's already way too far ahead, I feel. I'm surprised neither team is taking any of the opportunities for the Infernal Drake, but I feel like both teams are just trying not to make mistakes, given it is game 1 of the finals.
Yeah. It's really, really sad that RNG gets to be the ones that capitalize on it.
Yeah.
Really, really big trade up in top.
Oh.
Nets KingZone. Quite, I mean, that's huge. That is big.
Yeah, it's a big deal, but I don't know if it's enough.
They're really far behind right now, KingZone.
Yeah, they're in a really tough spot. Like, Ezreal can actually just do whatever he wants in this game. Like, it's a big deal because Khan gets ahead, right? It's a shame BDD got the kills, but that's like not a bad thing, of course. But it's still good enough. Like, it's fine. It keeps you in the game. Because I feel like if they don't make this play happen and they don't get the 2 kills, if they only get the turret, like
they
they're
lose
actually
the game.
Like almost out of the game.
Yes.
Yeah, they're almost out of the game. Because it's going to be impossible for them to deal with Ezreal, and Khan is never going to break either of the side laners in time. Like, he's never going to break Ornn or Sion in time before RNG capitalizes on a Baron, given how strong Uzi is.
Yep.
Because like Ezreal, like on this patch, like at least on the MSI patch, like the strength he has is that he has mid priority 1v3 basically. Like, you really can't stop this champion from having mid prior, and that's all they need to shut down the side lanes, and eventually create a situation where KingZone just can't do anything. Like, they can't breathe.
It's really, really hard for KingZone to get anything done right now. I mean, they put BDD up in top lane, but he's not going to achieve anything because he doesn't have the items to achieve anything. Game paused. I didn't know there was a pause.
I believe it gets paused one more time after this, I remember.
If you're RNG at this point, you just hold Aurelia and you hold Fiora, and you just continue to scale a little bit.
Right. And then, like, once you get to a point where Ezreal just does Ezreal things, right? Like, I don't think they're going to be able to hold mid tower against Ezreal because Sejuani and Braum aren't a threat, and Caitlyn isn't strong enough to deal with him on her own, with the Janna there. So I think he's just going to break open mid tier 1 and then eventually just become too difficult to deal with.
Skip forward.
I feel if Caitlyn is a threat, then maybe he has to respect traps or something, but I feel like he can E over them at this point. And this is what I mean with Ezreal just pushing mid and then moving, right? Like, he has mid power right here, and then BDD's way too far up and just gets caught for free.
Yep. And this is a mistake that I don't want to say that pro teams make this mistake a lot. It's just a byproduct of the team compositions didn't achieve KingZone's comp did not achieve what it needed to. And now this is a byproduct of that, where you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs, and you have to send BDD top lane and Khan bottom lane, or vice versa, it doesn't matter. But you can't do anything because it's too early. You just simply don't have the items. And then you're locked in mid, and then RNG is getting exactly what they want, and their gold is more valuable.
Well, now with QSS on Ezreal, it's going to be impossible to deal with him. I think he's actually just going to... I think he can E forward into or over Caitlyn's trap line at this point and get away with it. Makes sense that he got caught, I guess. Sounds kind of scary on a side lane like that, but it's difficult. I feel like they have no vision in the river.
Mm-hmm.
And if he wants to be that far up, I think Peanut has to be around him to at least buy him time to be able to do something. Peanut wasn't around and he ended up stepping up too far in the lane instead of just resetting, so he just gives up his life for free to Ezreal. Same thing's gonna happen bot lane here. KingZone can't do Baron because it's too early. And just, yeah. Both side lanes trying to carry the game, but they can't because Ezreal has his mid prow and just runs down.
Yep. Ezreal's too far ahead. And
yep, he's too strong.
There's probably people watching this like, well, why can't KingZone just team fight? And it almost suggests that they can't.
Yeah, it's literally impossible. Like, I think Aurelia does nowhere near enough damage to get through Janna or any of the peel that's going to be thrown at her. I don't think Fiora is going to be able to kill tanks in time, given how strong Ezreal is, killing everybody else.
Right.
And I feel like their only opportunity was just now. It's trying to like find a Sejuani ult or something on Noisy or on Janna and just trying to get mid power through that. Just throw your ult, get cooldowns, hard force with Braum Sejuani, and just pray to God you get something out of it, which you probably won't.
Yep.
So given that didn't happen, it's just yeah, that's the end of that.
Is this how early this game ends? I mean, that's a Baron, so this should probably just be game over, but...
I'm actually not sure. I don't remember,
really,
but...
really brutal.
It's just at this point, Ezreal's 4 items, so...
Also important to note that KingZone is essentially all AD.
Right. Got a lot of mixed true damage in, but... It's not going to kill any of the tanks anytime soon, given they're ahead of itemization themselves. Like Fiora and Aurelia are behind. I believe Aurelia just finished her 2nd item, and Ornn and Sion are probably working on their 3rd, if not finished them. So it's just not going to be possible to kill. Caitlyn's complete dead weight at this point. Like, she actually just heals people. Like, she's actually just healing RNG at this point. So yeah, just rough times. Like, look, he's two and a half items to a Randwin's Omen and like Frozen Heart. Like, it's really just impossible for Prey to play the game.
Oh, Prey's dead.
Oh.
Yeah. I like what KingZone tried to do. They understood that they were going to bleed objectives anyway, so Prey just got an objective. I mean, it's their best chance at winning is just bolstering their economy as much as possible and trying to get to items where they can resist from RNG. But at this point, I really like what RNG is doing. They're just doing a 4-0-1, continuing to hold con. They're going to be able to get this turret. They're going to get another inhibitor. And there's just nothing KingZone can do. Like you said earlier, Aurelia doesn't have the items yet. She's at 2 items, a Trinity Force and a Sterak. She can't get to Ezreal. And then Sion and Skarner just peel the entire fight in the game.
Right, and then you have Janna, right? And like it's just literally impossible for Aurelia to do anything. I don't think Sejuani can get a priority target, and I don't think even Caitlyn, even if they would go Braum Sejuani on people, like Caitlyn just doesn't deal enough damage to kill anything. So you can't play back front to back. You can't play back to front because you're just not going to get to Ezreal. So team fighting is impossible. Side laning's not going to happen because Sion and Ornn are just too far ahead of the item curve compared to their counterparts, and well, that's the end of that. They're just going to 5-man down the line because the inhibitors are down, and sucks to be KingZone. Oh, he actually did E-forward over trap and got away with it.
It just doesn't even matter. You just can't.
They just don't do enough damage. They don't have enough damage.
Yeah.
Like, their tanks aren't even losing HP.
If they were really ahead, it would be a different story. If they were really ahead in mid game.
I feel like there were certain itemization spikes that like they could ignore. Like Ezreal getting Triforce Mana is like a big deal, right? He got it 16 or 17 minutes, so like that's a big deal. But I think it was still winnable because you could just Braum Sejuani on him potentially and get a catch on him at least, and that way get mid prio or at least threaten it. Because I feel like KingZone gave up mid prio and then tried to play on sidelines, but they couldn't because Ezreal was always around. So I think Peanut just like disappeared off the map after like level 8, after the bot play happened, and he just couldn't find anything to do.
Yep.
And that's just the end of the game at that point, because if Ezreal doesn't like get slowed down, like he's just gonna have mid prio for the rest of the game, and your sideliners are never ever going to be able to do anything unless RNG lets it happen. Which they didn't, so they win the game.
I think Peanut's pathing in this game, I mean, I think the opening full clear is fine for both junglers. I think that the way that Peanut plays post full clear is really poor, and I think that's been the story of him this entire tournament, or at least from the games that I watched. And then obviously, I mean, this game turned into a blowout pretty quickly, and then because I know the result, but I haven't seen the games, I'm curious how the other games end up going. because this just looked really, really bad.
I mean, the way I saw this game happening was like early game. I feel like Khan messed up his trading too much, and the wave was in a bad spot for pretty much the entire lane, which meant that Peanut couldn't get any advantages topside because Ornn was just too safe of a spot, and they can't just straight tower dive him given the champions that are playing.
Right.
And that actually weighed in really badly because bot lane is no gank opportunity until level 6 with Braum, pretty much, unless RNG is really trolling. There was that one opportunity if you like balled it down bot lane that he might have gotten it, but the window is way too small, so I don't think it's possible. And then they tried to get a lot of mid ganks in to try and get the Irelia ahead after Sion died 1v1, but it's just not going to cut it. Like
Irelia getting ahead here
Sion mid
doesn't do anything.
I mean, it can do something if she gets like monstrously far ahead where she can actually just 1v5 team fights, but
that's
it shouldn't be possible given Sion has ult and
yes.
flash, right? Like that's the thing. He had his ult and his flash when they were trying to get the mid gank off, and it's just he's never going to die given how safe Sion mid can be if he plays it properly, which he did. So it was just really not possible for them to do anything given the windows of opportunity were closed. Because if you want to go back, it was like it was after the full clear. Peanut ran down into the bot river. It was like way early, like minute 4, somewhere there. I believe it was like level 4, and they spot each other in river. I'm not sure what exactly it was. Was it here? Yeah, it was here. If you go back one more, like right there, like right here, if he balls it down bot lane right now and didn't loop back around, maybe he gets a gank in. Like see, like right there, if Peanut was there coming in from river, potentially they could have done something. But I think this was their only opportunity to do anything in this game, given how badly the top lane trades went and how good the wave was for Ornn.
This would be really good to relieve pressure off of Prey, off Gorilla, look to make something happen, and then drag Skarner to this side of the map. And then if Khan is doing well up in top lane, it's even better for Khan.
Right. In this case, he's not, but, you know, I do still think it's important that he commits to at least a gank to try and relieve pressure, or at least force Ezreal to lose something to back for his tier here, because he just gets his tier back for free. Even with teleport, if you're there to cancel his recall, it can help.
I still feel like the biggest dropped ball is the post-solo kill on Sion. The Infernal Drake miss.
Yeah, for sure, I agree. Because they had no cooldowns.
Yep.
And then the other way around, RNG also dropped the ball, in my opinion, after Khan TP's top and they have TP advantage.
Yep.
When Karsa takes control of the river, they should definitely be getting the Infernal Drake and the tower for free.
Yes.
Like there's no, like it should be like a two objective play in one.
Yep.
Especially considering Zhao, who was hovering topside the entire time for no reason at all.
Yep. And so, okay, let's go into game number 2.